Now, this is a conversation we've had, and I want to get the Niner fans' thoughts on this. Maybe it's June and you don't want to hear this.
No, I'm getting texts all over the place.
Okay, well, 888-957-9570. Can Brock Purdy elevate his teammates around him? That's the biggest question we've all had. I keep bringing up the 3-game losing streak, right, where he didn't elevate the team. And you know what? And I said it in real time. It's okay if he's not elevating the team right now. He's in his second season. He's in his first full season of quarterback for the 49ers. Tom Brady didn't elevate the team early on. They were led by the defense and the running game until Brady caught up to speed. So it's not a knock. I'm not going to knock Brock Purdy for not being able to elevate the team, but can he? Here's what Chris Sims thought about that.
What bothered me about it more than anything is when the Shanahan specials, and you know how I like to talk like that, when they aren't working on all cylinders, there's not a lot that Purdy does to bring the offense back up. Now, he does more than Jimmy Garoppolo used to do, and it's definitely an improvement in that in all areas, but it's still, I'd like to see some more. And like I told you, too, there's more missed throws than people realize. If we went back and watched games and stuff, I'd go, yeah, I mean, this is a missed throw. But nobody cares because Shanahan dialed up a play, and they're so good. Somebody's wide open the next play for a 40-yard gain. And I'm just going to go, a lot of teams in football, quarterbacks don't have that luxury of going, damn, I missed a wide open 30-yard throw. No big deal. Guy will be open the next drive. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks go, that might have been my only time all game to have anybody open downfield. Oh, I missed it, right? So those are things you got to take into account, and those are the things that jump out to me when I watch 180 throws, 210 throws in a row. You start to see that stuff.
The Shanahan specials. So Chris Sims, who we know is very tight with Shanahan, best friends, matching tattoos, played the Texans together. It's not coming from anywhere. You don't think they've had any family cookouts or family barbecues where Sims came over and they had a little small talk off the record? You don't think he's getting, I don't. They're still boys. But he called it the Shanahan specials where he'll miss a throw, but it doesn't matter because Shanahan is so good, he'll dial it up the next play and somebody will be wide open for 40 yards. Which is, you know what? Which is crazy because it's the same argument people have used against Brandon Ayuk. In terms of Brandon Ayuk getting a contract extension, people were saying, don't pay him 28. Shanahan's scheming him up to be wide open. It's not his route running. It's not his athleticism. It's not his wingspan. It's not his leaping ability. It's not his catching ability. It's not his route running. It's Shanahan. Shanahan scheming open Brandon Ayuk.
So you're saying that people are using it as an argument on both ends?
On both ends.
Huh.
I believe so, because you've heard that argument about Brandon Ayuk.
Well, like, for example, I have a friend who's texting me right now furious. He's like, hey, look, the market is the market. And I'll get to that in a second because I find that an absurd statement for a variety of reasons. But he'll say, like, I'm banking on Shanahan, and I don't want to restart at quarterback. So if I believe in Shanahan, then I'll be able to figure it out with anybody. And I would say, well, then why pay any weapons ever?
Right.
If that's what you believe.
Yeah, I mean, if Shanahan's that good, I don't have to pay anybody.
Well, I mean, why did they give in to Debo? Why did they give in to Christian McCaffrey? Why did they give in to George Kittle? Why would you ever pay anyone on the offensive side of the ball if you think that you can get anyone open? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think there's some give and take. What's interesting to me is the whole, well, this is the market and you have to pay. Look, this is just the way I do life. Just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean I'm all in. That being said, I will use my own discernment, my own pros and cons, and I will weigh my own factors, and I will see if it works for me. So when I look at the 49ers, right, they didn't invest in running backs. Then Christian McCaffrey came around, and they said, we don't care what the entire league is doing at running back. That guy's different. He's special. We're trading a boatload to get him. We're going to pay him a boatload because his contract is very expensive. Even though the rest of the league, the market is telling you, we don't think it is worth paying running backs. Yep. The Niners said, we're going against the grain of the market. I don't know if they'll do that with quarterback, but I know that they're looking at it right now, and they're saying, we might go against the grain at wide receiver. I don't know if we want to pay what the market is paying right now. So the Niners historically have kind of done their finances a little different than some of the other teams.
So to all that, though, to what you just said, because they have done things differently. But then the truth hits them in the face. The 49ers, that is, and it's Shanahan in the face. For a long time, we said the system. Oh, you could just put anybody out there. Well, we saw anybody out there on the football field. We saw Trent Taylor, Kendrick Bourne, Dante Pettis, Jalen Hurd, who couldn't even get on the field. We saw how that looked. You needed to pay Debo. You needed to pay George Kittle. You needed premium weapons because you saw what it looked like with average weapons, right? Mm-hmm. 4 straight incompletions, Super Bowl 54. Ask Jimmy how that worked out, all right? You saw that you needed to pay a running back. You saw that you needed to trade a running back. Speaking of which, 405 talks about that game in Chicago. Now, I remember watching that game thinking, boy, we got no juice at the running back spot.
None.
For a run-first team, this ain't it. They need to trade. Remember one of the first crossovers we had? I said, they need a running back that could just throw the ball. When is the last time they had a running back to dump the ball off to, which is what they tried to do with Jerick McKinnon. So the 49ers realized that. It's like, let's go trade for Christian McCaffrey. And yes, it makes your offense different. You need premium players in this league. Kansas City's finding that out. They went to upgrade their wide receiver room despite winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, our receivers let us down. Let's go draft Xavier Worthy out of Texas. Or no, did they draft Xavier? Was it Xavier Worthy they draft? Yeah, Xavier Worthy they got, the little speedster out of Texas. So the 49ers are realizing that you can't just play anybody and think you're going to get premium production in the Shanahan system. So I say all that to say, Brock Purdy has elevated this offense. He has played at a high level. So Shanahan would be foolish to say, oh, yeah, I could just put any quarterback here and this thing could go. We could average 30 points a game and throw for 300 yards and run for 200. Well, we saw that. He tried to play anybody at quarterback. Brian Hoyer on line 1, C.J. Beathard on line 2, Nick Mullins on line 3.
But here's where it gets tricky. Everyone agrees Brock's good. But when we talk about these contracts, you're paying great. You're paying great. You marry great.
Yeah, when you get numbers like this, Deshaun Watson, why are everybody pissed off in Cleveland? Because he got $230 million guaranteed. They thought they were getting the guy from Houston. What about Joe Burrow, $219 million? Well, they're paying him because he elevates people, and they think he's great.
Yeah.
And they want to get back to the Super Bowl.
And we kind of saw him up
at
close
LSU.
and personal.
Yeah, no, we seen he's legit.
When he came to Levi's, come on, Niner fans.
Last season?
Come on, Niner fans.
I mean, he checked on a 3rd and 10 to an empty gun set and ran a quarterback draw for a first down.
He threw a third down teardropper to the sideline. That was just like, wow.
I mean, he was all put.
I thought he looked like Montana.
Dude, he was unbelievable. He was unbelievable. And he get Lamar Jackson. And I know people don't want to give Lamar his credit because of his playoff shortcomings. But I know what I saw on Christmas Day. I can't unsee what I saw on Christmas night, actually.
So that's one of the things I think when we talk about sample size, it's interesting. It's like Purdy doesn't have the largest sample size, but what he has is a large sample size of excellence over his time as a Niner quarterback. One thing that I'm very curious on is against the winning teams. What's it look like? So against the Cowboys, right? In the playoffs, pretty stagnant. I'm talking about a couple years ago. Pretty stagnant. It's his first real playoff game at home. I thought he looked pretty good, given everything that was going on.
No, go back to the Seattle game. Wild card game. Go back to Seattle.
He was awesome in the second half. It was
17-16 at the half.
Yeah, he threw a couple of bad passes in the first half.
It was 20-17.
But he was awesome in the second half.
He was, but it was 20-17 late third quarter. And Bosa and Ebukam came up with the fumble on Geno Smith when they were driving.
So you have those. Then let's go to this last year.
The Dallas game, obviously.
Dallas game, they blew them out. Dallas was a good team. They ended up losing the playoffs. We can argue about how good they were, but they were a good team. Against Cincinnati, what did it look like?
Didn't look good.
When they were healthy. They
threw 2 picks.
All right. What other good teams did they play?
Cleveland, playoff team, defense. Didn't look good.
It was a tough game.
It
also coincided with missing weapons.
But yeah, because you get paid this money, you should be able to miss a weapon or two and overcome that.
Okay.
I mean, Lamar Jackson overcame losing Mark Andrews.
Yeah. What about against Baltimore?
Should have thrown 7 picks.
Who else good did they play last year? They played Tampa Bay, who ended up having a win. That game was a little closer than I think we all wanted to admit.
But Brock played well.
I think Brock played really well. That was the one I would say. Yeah. Dallas and Tampa, he played really well against those teams. Now let's go to the playoffs, the Green Bay game. I thought he played well in the fourth quarter. Really well in the fourth quarter. But the first half could have done you in.
Well, the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, it could have done you in.
The third quarter was, Brock should have thrown a pick 6 in the first quarter. He should have thrown a pick in the third quarter. Hell, the clips I sent you guys when I was doing the voiceover was like, oh, my God. And I used to look at that Brock Purdy and said, dude, elevate the football. You're throwing late over the middle. What are you doing?
And then I look at the Detroit game, and I thought he didn't see the field well in the first half. A little rusty, a little shaky. And then the second half, thought he was a lot better. Super Bowl, I thought it was good. So the point where I'm going at, he's got a big mixed bag, if we're being fair, against the really good teams. And that's what you're going to be. Again, ultimately, that's what you're judged on.
Right.
That's why we look at the Goff deal. Goff could destroy the New Orleans Saints, and no one cares. You know what they care about? He looks mediocre against the really good teams.
Let's just bring it back to San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo. He looked pretty good against the bad teams. Well, sometimes. He played the Denver Broncos. He threw the pick 8 as you're listening to 95.